We're this February launching the 2019 edition of the Military Balance. It's the 60th year of publication of the Military Balance, coinciding with the 60th year of the IISS itself. The first edition of the Military Balance was an 11-page pamphlet, basically focused on NATO and the Warsaw Pact countries. This year, in a packed 524-page edition, we cover 7 regions and 171 countries. In common with recent years, we contain a number of text analysis pieces. One of them this year is on quantum computing and defence. That examines some of the key challenges for defence applications of quantum computing and key benefits that may be sought by this technology, for instance in cryptanalysis, encryption, and also in the fast data processing that may be useful for sensor purposes and other military-related tasks. That follows a tradition in recent years of essays looking at similar technologies that are on the cusp of service entry. Last year, for instance, we looked at artificial intelligence and defence. This year, of course, we publish a very topical now issue on the challenges of nuclear arms control, which looks at the history of arms control developments leading up to the INF Treaty and also New START. And of course, with the American decision to suspend obligations for INF in early February, this is of increased salience. But we don't just look at defence developments in essay form. Of course, what the Military Balance has increasingly done in recent years is examine defence developments graphically, trying to make sense of defence data and make it more accessible, not just to policymakers, but to the informed public. So this year we have, for instance, graphic features on the F-35 and on the UK's Queen Elizabeth class aircraft carriers. And it really, I think, brings to life some of the defence data within the Military Balance book. But we still retain the core data for which the Military Balance is well known around the world. So for these 171 states, we maintain organisation and inventory data, looking at land, sea and air forces and paramilitaries. And that data, I think, serves to inform the interested public and also policymakers about our independent assessments of national defence holdings and the military capabilities that states possess, particularly in terms of conflict-afflicted regions. This data can be useful for policymakers, but also it can be useful for planning purposes as well. As we move forward to the 2020 Military Balance, we're furthering our efforts to improve the coverage of defence data that we hold in a Military Balance. We are, for instance, looking at how to assess cyber capabilities, how to quantify cyber capabilities, as well as look at them in a qualitative context, so that, as we do for other elements of military data, we're able to include cyber in a comparable way across our data sets. And I think that'll be a step change in the data sets the Military Balance provides. But as we look to integrate cyber data into our inventory holdings and look to develop a comparable assessment of what is a national military cyber capability, we're aware of how we've done this for other technology areas. In recent years, we've included more data on space systems and we've included more data on uninhabited aerial vehicles. We'll soon be integrating more data on uninhabited maritime vehicles. And in the Defence Military Analysis Programme at the IISS, we're engaged in a year-round horizon scanning activity, looking at what next might be militarily useful. But we still retain the core data competencies for which the Military Balance is well renowned. That's looking at national military capabilities from main battle tanks to uninhabited aerial systems around the world for 171 countries. And as we look to the 2020 Military Balance, we're redoubling our work to examine those areas in more detail.